like you're crazy. Like who cares? Like you're the one, you're raking in millions of dollars. Like without the risk, you have way less risk.
Walk me through what you see today and the split between you getting older, pursuing more real estate now that you have capital, and teaching people drop shipping. How do you kind of balance those two things, and how do you reconcile those kind of two different pathways?
So by day, I'm out here trying to help as many people as possible, and by night, I'm trying to help do the same thing for myself. It is an interesting time right now because I am about to hit 1 million subscribers, and yeah, everything is like, it feels like it's at like the climax right now, but I feel like it's just the beginning. I feel like this is where everything really is going to start to take off. Like in the next 10 years, I think it'll be wild because I have some pretty good bets on myself. And I think that if I pull it off, then I'll be doing some really, really, really cool stuff by the time I'm like 30, 35 years old, that barely anyone else can say that they're doing. And I'm like really excited for that. I can't wait.
Do you see yourself doubling down on Shopify in the coming years, or do you see yourself kind of transitioning the audience towards a more sophisticated, maybe real estate audience, or how do you see that?
Yeah, so I don't want to double down on Shopify. I just want to help as many people as possible. And right now, a lot of my audience are beginners that don't have a lot of experience. And I urge those beginners, like I have very rudimentary videos about like finance and what you should do, and like you should watch how you spend your money. And once you have that control, like you should start an online business and you should start your journey and go there. And so like I do make videos about drop shipping, but it's not like the end all be all for me. I do want to get into like more serious finance, and that's what I'm doing. The video that I'm going to be posting next is, like I told you before we started filming, it's like a 2-hour video that I recorded about America's downfall and macroeconomics, a topic that I've been researching for like the last year to try to understand the world better, to understand the banking system better, the economic world better. And I want to help other people understand that as well, because I think that by doing that, you can prepare yourself relatively for what is to come. And if you're prepared for it, then you can benefit from it. You can not suffer, because people will suffer, but better than that, you can also benefit from it.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. I just want to help people, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, having 1 million subscribers is a lot of influence.
Right.
And how do you see yourself kind of comparing towards other YouTubers in the relative space? And how do you think about building your own identity of Sebastian and kind of building your own audience? Because there's a lot of people like all your subscribers probably follow other people. They follow Aman, Jordan, and other people in the space. Why should they listen to you? Why should they kind of follow, your creed, your philosophy? And how do you think about kind of building up your influence beyond just creating videos that can capture attention or are solving some, beginner problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've already done that. I think that I do influence people way beyond that, because I think that I'm a case study and I'm living proof of like how far you can go. And I think that case study is going to become more and more valuable the further I go. And I'm going to show everyone like just how far I can take it. I'm going to show you that you can be born with no electricity in your home for a period of time, where your food goes rotten in your fridge, to building one of the tallest buildings in like the downtown area of where you live, and being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It has nothing to do with money, but I think that as I get bigger, that becomes more valuable, that case study to people. And it's more than just teaching them about finance or economics and all that stuff. It's that story, my story, will give them an emotion that will be fire for them for a long time.
It's interesting you say that you have like these grand ambitions, like making the biggest skyscraper in downtown Phoenix. Yeah, but I saw some things you posted on Twitter, which was like romanticizing the idea of having a farm and a wife and being off the grid. But then you kind of speak about knowing wholeheartedly that you're going to hit 1 million subscribers when you only had 5,000. How do you reconcile those two extremes, where it's like, on one hand, you want to be highly successful, highly known, over 1 million subscribers, and on the other hand, you want to, in some shape or form, be off the grid, care more about God, and have kind of a closed family life? How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, I live at the extreme of both sides. That's where life is the most fun. I think I think it's better for your soul and your spirit to live like a calm, humble life, and that's what I want to do. Like living more off grid. And there's more than one reason why I want to do these things. It's also for protection for myself and my family, but I also want to be an inspiration, and I also want to be really wealthy as well, so that I can protect people like my family by proxy, like not just my wife and my kids, but also my brothers and my mom and my cousins and whoever else, and my friends. I want to be able to protect everyone, and I want to bear that responsibility.
Has there been any kind of downsides so far to having some level of fame?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's downsides, but I don't really see them as downside. The downsides is you're put in the spotlight. People expect you to be something. You have to live up to that expectation. Obviously, in some cases, you get ridiculed by the internet, as I'm sure you've seen. But I don't see them as downsides, because all of those things that have happened have given me a unique perspective on life that I don't think most people have.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I think that it makes me stronger. I think that it makes me wiser.
Yeah.
So actually, I think I find a way to look at it in a good way, because I'm like, like I can speak to someone that is 50 years old, and I could say, like, you've lived through communism. I've never done that. You have a unique perspective, but you also have to respect that I have a unique perspective. You've never been hated on by tens of thousands of people. You don't know what that's like, and you don't know like what it's like to get over that or whatever else. Like you don't have that, and I do. So I think it's cool. I think it's. Yeah.
What's interesting is like I've known you for like 5 years. I didn't know you had any siblings. You never really talk about them. So what do you think's I have a younger brother as well, but he's not an entrepreneur. Where do you think that separation, when does that separation happen? And did you always see yourself as the chosen one? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when I detail their story, they always have some sense of they have to take it upon themselves to make it work. And they feel like they're the chosen one. There's some level of ego attached to, I can make this work. It's all on me. And that's what gives them the fire and the trajectory towards making it.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm the chosen one. I think people feel like I'm the chosen one, and they give me that identity. I don't feel like that.
But you just said earlier, you knew right away at 5,000 subscribers you were going to hit 1 million. Yeah. Right? So in a way, you had that inner self-confidence.
Well, yeah, but I mean, sure, I've had confidence, but I don't believe that I'm the chosen one. Like, I don't believe I'm the golden boy. And the reason why I knew that I was going to hit 1 million subscribers is because I've witnessed other YouTubers go from having 5,000, 10,000.
There's already great case studies.
Yeah, and it's YouTube's a snowball. As long as you keep making videos and they're good videos, they'll get more views, and then they'll get more views, and then you'll get more subs, and then you'll get more views. So it wasn't a like what is the word? Like I saw myself in some sort of glorious light where I was like, oh yes, I'm like the chosen
child. It was more like you're just taking the steps that you see can be replicated for success.
I was like, yeah, other people have done this, I can do it too. I mean, I didn't see myself as any less
like breaking through a barrier. You didn't see it like as a huge barrier you had to break through. You were like, hey, I'm already seeing this is successful.
Yeah.
If I just do the steps, I can replicate that.
Right.
And so
simple.
Most people, and now there's even more case studies. I think that's a great parallel, because a couple of years ago I was speaking about a new opportunity in business I call it digital dropshipping. But there wasn't any great case studies, and it was hard for people to kind of visualize something innovative. But now when there's very easy case studies, there's a clear path for people to replicate. And so you felt you were already in a position where like, hey, this has already been done on YouTube before. People have already been successful dropshipping.
Yeah.
Graham Stephan already showed me, how to do some real estate deals. I just have to replicate that level of success. I'm going to ask you a kind of an interesting question. It's like, what's something innovative that only you've kind of discovered that you want to do in the future? Is there something that, you're placing a big bet on that hasn't been there's no great case studies?
Not something I'm placing a big bet on. I just want to go all in on real estate, and that's not for some sort of reason to be like a pioneer in that space. People have done that, maybe not so much in like the entrepreneur like make money online space, but that's just something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for any other reason other than the fact that I actually genuinely enjoy it, and I could care less what anyone else thinks about it. To me, like, it's kind of an art. If you design a really cool building or a really cool home, that when people walk into it, they fall in love with it. It's kind of a form of art that I like, and I think I'm good at it, and it's also highly profitable. So
what about like hospitality? Do you ever think about getting into like the restaurant space and kind of designing out? Because when you showed me your design of, well, I don't know if you want to talk about the G kind of
G residences.
G residences. Do you ever consider like some of the hospitality, like restaurants, and kind of, do you care more about the design, or do you care more about like the business side of things? Hey, do the numbers work out? How much is the land? How much am I gonna acquire things for? Like, what's more interesting for you? Is it the design of like how pretty it's gonna look and the little details, or is it more like, hey, this is exactly how it's gonna pan out, and here are all the business side too?
I mean, I would say I'm interested in both. I mean, both are super important.
Are you like in the weeds on the design, or how much in the weeds are you?
Yeah, I would be super picky. When the day comes where I have to sit down with the architect of that building, it will be multiple meetings, and it will be hours and hours of like picky work, and I will think about everything. Yeah, I would definitely care about that. I was showing my friends some of my friends my new house, and they were like looking at the floors and stuff and looking at the paint, and they're like, okay, it looks nice. And then I told them, I'm like, well, yeah, but right now the lights are the wrong Kelvin. And they're like, what? And I'm like, the lights are the wrong Kelvin. Right now they're at 5,000 Kelvin. They're going to be at 4,500 Kelvin. Or if they're at 5,500 Kelvin, they're going to be at 45 or 3,500 Kelvin, which is a warmer color tone, which will pull out the undertones in the floor and in the paint. So I took that into consideration, and they're like, I didn't know like lighting makes that big of a difference. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I also took into consideration the Kelvin of daylight. When like I picked the way that the house was going to look, and like they're like, I would have never guessed anything about that. And it's like, well, yeah, I care about the lighting, like I care about how it looks, like I care about like the little details when it comes to it, just because I find it interesting. It's cool. Yeah. Different lighting can change everything about a house.
Yeah. Have you already made the decision as to whether you're going to keep it or you're going to sell it, or what are you planning on doing?
No, I'm going to keep it.
You're going to keep it.
It's fixed rate debt right now in this economy. I'm going to keep that.
Because you were contemplating selling it.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was before I started learning about the economics more. And now I'm going to keep it because
you feel like now is not the right time.
Dude, it's a great deal. I mean, I have $1 million worth of debt. If I pull everything out, which I will, if I max everything out, I have $1 million worth of debt that's fixed at 3.75%.
That you can utilize for other projects.
Well, I could just I can hold that debt for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how cheap that debt will be in 15 years.
And you want to pursue another house right away with that debt, or no? What do you want to do with it?
No, I'm gonna keep that forever. Most likely what I'll do, I want to do another one. I want to do a big one. I want to do a big one in Silverleaf, which for everyone watching from Arizona, they know where that is. But up there with like one of the most valuable neighborhoods in Arizona. There's homes like going for 10, 15, 20 mil. I think there's one home for $80 million that's never been sold there. Like the value of it is $80 million. But very, very exclusive neighborhood. I want to buy land there. It goes for $1 million an acre, and I want to build like a 8 to 10,000 square foot home and sell it for 8 figures. That's like my next project, I think. I might even raise money for that. I haven't decided.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, do you like doing everything yourself, or do you think you want to kind of start pooling investor, especially with your influence, kind of pooling investor money and maybe planning out something bigger?
So yeah, I would probably want to raise money for that one. I'd buy the land myself. I'd probably spend $3 million of my own money buying the land, and then raise, I might not open it to public. I might just go and ask my friends. A lot of my friends expressed interest in it. A lot of my friends that are like, have millions of dollars, and it would probably I'd probably raise like $3 million.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't know if you know Josh Snow, but he has.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean he's like partnered up with a couple different people in the space. I think what could be really great is to learn from someone already ahead of you, and maybe work on a deal with them, partner up, like have an operator, because I think, you have influence and maybe great ideas and design, but I think there's also big challenges with going bigger, and the pendulum can shift one way or the other, depending on macroeconomic conditions, and kind of placing the right bet, like you mentioned, not going all in on something and kind of, putting yourself in a bad position, but, maybe taking that influence, finding a great operator, someone who's already done it in the business, and leverage all the things that you have in place that he doesn't.
Yeah, I definitely need to find someone that is further ahead in the real estate game than I am, a developer that has been around the block, because I don't have that. So I definitely need.
Well, that's actually an interesting question. It's one I'm in a position to where, thinking about the friend group you have and wanting to branch off into other industries that you might not have, friends already in. How do you think about the friend group you have and maybe wanting to do bigger things but not having the right relationships yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm going out there and like actively looking for people that are in the industry. Yeah. I'm kind of just doing my thing and hoping I run into them type sort of deal. Like there's no strategy there. Yeah. So I probably could be doing a better job, but I mean, the reason I'm not is because I'm not in a rush to get wealthy. I don't care really that much, like to get there fast. I know it's going to happen, and I'd rather just appreciate my youth and my life now and let money do its thing. Like, I've already made enough money. I've already invested enough. It will compound. I'll be very wealthy. And I'd rather like spend a little bit extra money here going to Vail with my family. And I would rather have a supercar here and drive it when I'm 20 and just let things happen. Like, I'm not running towards everything. So that's probably the root reason why I haven't like gone out and searched for people that can help me. I'm just like, hey, I'm going to start doing this, and I hope I'll run into them, which I think I will. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as you build yourself, you attract different people in your life, and it makes it easier to kind of, everyone is within, one or two connections. So as soon as you have that idea that, okay, you want to pursue this, then you'll go figure out maybe who's in the circle that can help you.
Yeah. I'd want them to take me seriously too. I feel like maybe I haven't done enough to like get the attention of like a developer that is worth or has done like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Do you reach out to people? Like, do you DM people? Like, how do you go about making what do you do? Or do you just focus on yourself? How do you balance the two?
I think, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. Don't take this as a flex. It's not. It's just an honest truth. I think that I've probably DM'd like 10 people in my whole life. Like, really? I've never DM'd anyone. I don't know.
Do your thing.
I just do my thing. Yeah, I just do my thing. And I know that as long as I do my thing, people will come and they'll respect what I do and they'll be inspired by it and they'll want to be friends, and I'll make friends that way.
Yeah. And that's a position of advantage. I mean, when you're the one getting DM'd, you're the one in control of the conversation. You're the one kind of dictating the terms.
It's not for those reasons. It's just
you didn't think about it.
It's not for like the 48 laws of mentality. It's just like, I just want to do my thing. I'm just like a peaceful guy. Like, I just want to do what I want to do. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that is the right tactic for the most part, right? It's like, by you building yourself, by you being the hub, you attract all the best opportunities, the best deals. Because as soon as you have to go out and chase something, you're always in a bad position. You're always getting the worst terms of the deal. You're never in a position of leverage.
If you need something better, then that is the other person that has what you need has leverage against you, because maybe they don't need it as bad as you do. Yeah. Supply and demand,
Well, that's an interesting point, because there's a growing amount of people who just getting started, and what they'll do is they'll DM people, they'll do all external things instead of building themselves.
Yeah, they'll want to get around the right people. I don't blame them, because maybe the average person, like, maybe their friends they do the same thing every weekend. Or they just do things that this guy's not totally interested in, like whatever it is. Maybe they drink or go out or play video games or whatever. So I get it. Like, yeah, you want to DM people and make connections and find new friends, but maybe just kind of like maybe spend less time with those people and spend more time building yourself up instead of going out and DMing people, being like, hey, you want to like be friends? Like, I have nothing to show for it. Like, I don't do anything cool yet, but I want to. I don't know.
It's like a catch-22, right? On the one hand, if you change your environment, you're going to change yourself. But when I'm giving advice to people just getting started, and they don't know, I mean, maybe they do know exactly what to do to help themselves, but it's hard when you're not in the right environment to kind of force you to do something. Do you feel like you had a harder environment to kind of give you the strength to push out of it, or do you think you just naturally like that? Or so you were never aiming to make connections to figure out a new path. It kind of just came from within you, you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You feel you had YouTube, you had all these things where, hey, if I'm just by myself, I can go showcase my value to the world or document my journey. And that's how I'll start attracting people instead of first trying to attract them and then building myself up.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I never really cared about doing any of it. I just wanted to do my own thing. I didn't see I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why I think about it. I just didn't see the benefit of like trying to figure it out with someone else that's also trying to figure it out. I think, actually, you know what, now that I think about it, I think it's, this is depressing. Maybe we can, I don't know. It probably just because of the way I grew up. Like, I just never counted on anyone. I've always done everything myself. So it's like, why would I start doing it now? Like as I'm older, doing all these things or trying all these businesses or having all these ideas, like, why would I go and try to do it with someone else? I've always been by myself.
You've never had any partners on? Well, you actually do have partners on some things.
I've never had any partners until recently.
Yeah.
But I've just never had someone to count on. I've never expected to have someone to count on.
Yeah.
So therefore, I just grew up putting everything on my own shoulders.
How do you think about partnerships? Because this is the first year that I'm doing partnerships as well. And I was always hesitant on it because I had almost, I don't know if PTSD, but feeling that I'm going to get stuck in a marriage and there's going to be disagreements. And
Yeah, so I have two partnerships. I have one with a girl and I have one with a guy.
Yeah.
And I went from being solo to having two very, very serious partnerships. One emotional and one highly profitable. But yeah, I think it's for the business side of things. I think it's good to partner with someone that has something that you don't have.
Yeah.
So me and Seb are very similar. We're creative and we're like idealistic and we have great ideas or whatever. We need somebody that, an operator, like you said, to kind of like take these ideas and throw out the bad ones and run with the good ones and kind of just be like logical and analytical about everything. We need that. We definitely need something like that, so we can get more stuff done. I have a great time working with Seb and I enjoy it, but I think that if I were to start a company and it was like my intention starting was exit, if I were to start with another partner, I would only pick a partner that had something that I did not have, something that was too hard for me to get on my own, something that was too expensive for me to hire, just a very, very like competitive advantage that I could not bring to the table if I wanted to. I think that's probably a better partner to have if you want to go for like the big exit. But for me and Seb, it's like we're not, we don't have like it's not like one of those businesses, it's kind of like a.
Well, you had some other ones, maybe they fell through, but thinking about software, right? Because you're not a software engineer or designer, but you were thinking about getting into partnerships and, getting into the tech space. How do you think about those types of partnerships?
So we do actually have a software we're building, and it's the MVP will be ready this week. And I have Sebastian as my partner on that, but we also have another partner, another equity holder who is a developer, and he's worked on software before. And he's successfully had a software company, not a huge one, but he's a partner in it too. And that is what I was just talking about. Like, he is exactly what I need. He goes out and hires developers. He speaks code. I don't do that. I don't want to learn how to do that. I don't want to even think about that. I will happily give him equity for that, while I'll do my part. So yeah, that one looks better.
Yeah. When you're thinking about those new opportunities, are you trying to time something in the future, or are you seeing opportunities as they come about and you say, hey, you know what, I am perfectly in a position to tackle this problem. Let me execute upon it? Or are you more, here's where the ball is going, let me try to get there?
Yeah. I am definitely the former. I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm not trying to be like, this is where I see the world going. I'm going to start in this space, this technology. I have some friends that are like that,
I'm that friend.
I have another friend that you probably know who I'm talking about, but he's like that. I'm not like that. I'm more of like a
pragmatic,
short-termer, like what's
here's the wave.
Yeah,
let me ride it.
How can I make money right now with what's going on? In the business sense, but in the investing sense, definitely looking towards the future, like towards like the wealth management sense of things, like the personal stuff. Yeah.
Well, because I mean, I think that's an accurate way to do it, because on the real estate side, those things just shift much slower, right? So they're more, you could predict them. You could predict them better than you can technology, right? Because technology is changing really quickly. So trying to time 2-3 years on a technology is very difficult. That was my mistake, right? When I started my last software company, was I thought, AI, conversational commerce, was going to happen faster than it did, right? So I started 3 years ago, and I was like, oh, it's right about ready. But even 3 years later, we're still not economically feasible with like the best GPT-4 models. So it can be hard to time those things. And I think that's the right way to do it. It's like, hey, let me build myself. Let me not care about all these other people reaching out to them. As I get better and I build my own opportunities, then when a wave presents itself, then let me take it on. I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's more than one way to do it, and the grass is always greener on the other side. And I have friends that run companies, and they're in their office from 9 to 5. They're 20 years old, and they run a company that makes $5-6 million a month, and it's a very serious company. And they're in some ways envious of me, and I am in some ways envious of them. Yeah. So they also make a lot of money. I'm more cash rich than they are. They're more rich on paper than I am. But there's pros and cons to either side. The ego in me wants to be like, I want to run my own company as well, because I feel like people perceive me in a way that like, they're like, oh, he's like a business guy. And I don't feel like a super smart business guy, because I've never started a business that was like, and strategically put together something and then sold it. Like, so like the ego in me wants to be like, oh, I want to do this. But then I talk to my friends about that, and they're like, bro, like you're crazy. Like, who cares? Like you're the one, you're raking in millions of dollars. Like without the risk, you have way less risk. And you're getting started on investing and stuff. And it's like, you have the better side of you have the greener grass. Yeah. And it depends. The world is so complicated, bro. There's so many different ways to do things, and there's no perfect way. But
who do you turn to when you have like a big decision? Do you ask your girlfriend? Do you ask your friends?
It depends.
Do you have people in your life? If you have a big
like
decision,
role models?
No, like, yeah, kind of
like mentors.
Yeah, like you have a big decision, like who do you turn to? Is there a person you have in your life where you're like, holy, I gotta ask this guy. I gotta see his opinion on it. Or do you feel like self-confident, like, hey, I'm gonna tell them after I'm done. After I started, I'll tell them.
No, I maybe I used to be like that a little bit more. The older I get, the less I'm like that. But it depends on what the decision is about. If it's about relationships or religion, I'll go to someone else. Maybe I'll go to my brothers. If it's about money, it's harder to say, but it depends. There's just so many different types of decisions that I would go to different people for. So like friends, I'd go to my friends mostly. But I don't have like that one guy, like that mentor. I don't have that I could like run.
Have you ever had like a person you consider a mentor in your life, or do you feel like, you know what? No, me either.
I haven't. No, I haven't. And I need one. I wish that I had one. I really do, but I don't have one. Maybe I just need mentors in different
I think
areas.
a lot of people in our position, they say that, but then they want to have the feeling that they did it themselves. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean,
right? It's like a balance. Like on one hand, I'm like, I wish I had a mentor too, but then on the other hand,
you can always take someone's advice, and you can appreciate someone's perspective on something. Maybe they'll give you something you didn't have. Yeah. And then it's not like their decision is your decision. It's just like, what do you think? Like, maybe give me a perspective that I don't have, so that I can be more confident in my decision. Like, because if you have a perspective that aligns with what I was going to do in the first place, then okay, now I'm more confident because I have, whatever. But if you have something completely different, okay, well, maybe I need to reevaluate. And that is not your decision. It's just my decision based on your advice. So I think it's good, but yeah, I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard to find those people.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to your story, in a lot of ways, we're different. I mean, I knew a lot about you. We've known each other for like, 5 years on and off. But there's some things that I do like almost the complete opposite of you. Like, I started my Lux company, the e-com company, under the premise that I was going to give away this product to the people I want to get connected to. So, and even when I started, the last software company, Blue Receipt, it was outside my realm of expertise, trying to predict a future outcome and trying to almost chase a future opportunity instead of just working from what my natural skill set was. And I think while those things could turn out very, very well, there's a higher risk profile to those things. How do you manage risk? Because there's a couple of people here in Arizona, like Ricky, who I think is probably one of the premier people who can manage risk, right? He takes on very little risk and continues to compound it, where there's other people like myself who take on sometimes disproportionate risk. What's your kind of risk profile, and how do you think about managing it?
Yeah, I'm not very risky. I'm also pretty low risk with the things that I do, and like the businesses I start, the income that I go after, and my investing strategies. Less risky compared to people in the space, more risky compared to traditional, like regular Americans.
Yeah.
Just because I have more than 10% of my portfolio in crypto, which some people have, like they say, 5% or 1%. So more risky than NPCs, but less risky than like our space. That's where I would say I fit. Probably more risky than Ricky though. I don't know. Ricky is super.
No, he won't even take like. Yeah, I mean he's a guy. I think about. It's like hitting singles versus trying to be a slugger, right? Ricky is singles. Just hit the singles every single time, and don't try to go for a huge outcome. Those singles are just going to start compounding. And when I first met him 5 years ago, he was making $10K a day and trading to make only $100, $200. And now he's trading and making $5 to $20K. So you can kind of extrapolate his risk profile, because his risk profile stayed the same, in my opinion. So those singles just have added up so much. Whereas for me, like I was trying to go a huge outcome, right? So like a slugger mentality, right? Hey, I'm gonna strike out 3-4 times, but when I hit it, it can have a disproportionate impact.
Right. Yep. So I mean, again, it's like two ways to get to the mountain. Yeah. You can take the long and easy route, or you can try scaling it vertically.
I wouldn't say it's easy. I used to have that idea where it's like, I discounted it because I thought it was easy. I was like, oh, well, I could definitely do that. I could just hit singles all the time.
But you just want to be better. Like you want to do it the cooler way.
It's almost, right? It's almost like you want to hit the home run and kind of.
Yeah, it's more glorious.
It's more glorious. Yeah. And that's maybe my ego, where it's like.
Definitely.
I want to be the guy that says like, but there's something to be said about being super consistent. That's not easy at all. And I thought in my head, I was like, oh, well, I'm discounting it because I thought it was easy. But in fact, okay, it's easy to do it one time. But it's not easy to do it 20 times in a row. And I don't think I considered that beforehand.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you appreciate that new perspective.
Yeah, I do.
Perspective is great.
Yeah, it is great. Who do you look up to? Is there people like, okay, you don't talk to people, but are there people you look up to and kind of have like, okay, I want to emulate certain parts of their life. You had that idea with Graham Stephan, right? When you first started, hey, I'm going to emulate certain parts of his real estate.
Yeah.
Are there people now that you look up to? Who do you think has, interesting ideas or what information do you consume?
Mostly economic and finance information.
So just news, not so much individual people's opinions.
So yeah, I don't really consume like content from creators very often. Mostly like just like information about like systems or news that's relative to what I'm interested in, but I don't really consume like too much from creators. Honestly, I don't really watch podcasts very much.
Do you feel like once a piece of information is public, it's no longer valuable, right? Because like creators will put out when the creator puts out a piece of information, it's already public information, so there's no edge anymore. Is that why you think so? Well, is that why you don't watch those? Or?
No, not at all. You think so, George? The thing about you is like you're thinking like 2-3 layers deep.
Yeah,
and I'm not.
You're just like, I'm just gonna go straight to the answer. I'm just gonna go straight to the right answer.
You definitely like, you're a strategist, and I'm more of like I'm just like a F it, we ball, let's do it. Yeah, I'm just kind of like throwing stuff at the wall and like going for it. In some stuff, but to answer your question, the reason I don't consume, so it's just so interesting. I actually find it really interesting. You think it's because the information that they are saying because it's public loses its value. First of all, I don't think it loses its value because I think that most people don't even act or use that information anyway. So it's not like whatever the information was about, it's not like that has become more competitive now and it then renders the information less valuable.
It's almost like I want to say it's old news, but there's like this meme. It's like if you see something funny on Facebook, it was already said 3 months ago on Reddit. And there's no more edge. And normally when you want to have high upside, you're finding an edge. Like for example, like this last weekend.
So I'm gonna show you something. So the reason, because you're still thinking in your frame.
Yeah.
So you assume that I'm looking to have the highest edge. I'm not. I'm not. So maybe you are, but like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm not trying to get there super fast. I feel like I've already.
That's the frame you're looking at the problem in, and the solutions come from that frame.
Yeah, like we have a little bit of a different lens to look at life. So
well, what's interesting, I look at everything I'm listening from you. I'm like, oh, maybe he hasn't thought out all the steps, but he's taking the right move, right? Because when I listen to you and you're giving me your answers for the life you want to live, I'm analyzing. I'm like, that's the right answer. But maybe you didn't think about all the things, like all the details, but you just said, hey, this is what I want to live. This is the frame I'm approaching the problem in. And the solution just come naturally from that.
So I know, like you said, I know where I want to go. And I know what my ideal life looks like. I don't think 10 steps ahead. I'm thinking 1 to 2 steps ahead. So when I play chess, I don't think 10 steps ahead. I think 1 to 2 moves ahead. And the reason why is because there are so many variations in chess. And likewise, there are so many different things that can happen in life that I find it a waste of my time or a waste of my effort, my mental effort, to think so far ahead, because I can get to step 2 and now everything else is going to be different. So I'm still going towards the same goal. I still want to win the game. I still want to checkmate. I still want to live off the grid and I want to have a skyscraper, but I'm not breaking it down into like the tiny little steps. I'm just going in that direction. I know what I need to do. And I'm like 1 to 2 steps ahead, or 1 to 2 steps planned. And if something change, it makes it easier for me. It makes it, I'm not left disappointed because I'm like, oh, my original plan is not going to work now. I'm like, okay, now we're going to course correct a little bit in this direction. Does that make sense?
What do you think about, as you become more successful, continuing to be free and mobile, but taking on the right responsibilities? Because having a girlfriend is a responsibility, having this partnership is a responsibility. How do you think about adding things to your plate and having responsibilities while being mobile?
Yeah, it's definitely scary, because before I had my girlfriend, I felt like very, very free to do anything that I would like, which is a great feeling as a guy. I'm sure you can understand that feeling.
Yeah,
it's like having the best piece on the chessboard. It's like having the queen. Like you can move anywhere, you can do anything. And as you start to take on more responsibility, like having a girlfriend or a wife or even kids, you start to become restricted. So it is scary, but I think that the way I cope with it is just by trying to optimize the other areas of my life and trying to remain very free and mobile and
things you can control
and things that I can, and then starting to lock down these other parts of my life, because I know that I have to do this. This is like, it's life. Like I want to get married, I want to have kids, and it's like this is a sacrifice that there's no questions asked, there's no negotiation, so it just is what it is. That's the guy therapy you see in Instagram comments, like how guys deal with things. Like it is what it is, So there's that. Yeah, that's it. Just make sure everything else in my life is good.
Do you feel like you've had bad decisions that you've made over the last couple of years, or do you feel like you haven't had maybe like a turmoil story that you've had to kind of rebuild from? And how do you think about bad decisions? Or it's very similar to like the risk idea, but when you're taking on a big decision, like when getting married or having a girlfriend or starting a partnership, do you plan for what happens if something goes wrong pre-hand, or do you, and like you mentioned before, like take it one step at a time?
I do take it one step at a time. I do think about what could go wrong, and I try to like cover my cover my bases there, in a way. But I think more about what I have to do to make sure it goes right, instead of what could happen if it went wrong. I know that there's a way. I know that, okay, so there's an outcome. The outcome is I have a successful marriage. A successful marriage is not a marriage that doesn't end up in a divorce. It's a marriage that we're both happy in and that we both want to be in. That's successful. So that's an outcome. That's also a reality. So what do I need to do to get to that reality? I'm not thinking about what would happen if I got divorced. I'm not thinking about what would happen if like this happened within my marriage. I'm sure it will. I'm sure
or the business,
bad things will happen.
Or partnerships, or any kind of business you pursue.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about the optimal outcome, and I'm trying to understand what needs to happen to get there. That's probably where I would probably think the most. Yeah.
There's this book that Patrick Bet-David quoted, was like 40 questions to ask before you get engaged.
I meant to buy that.
Yeah, did you?
I didn't buy it, but I wanted to.
Yeah. How do you think about qualifying, not just your girlfriend, your business partners, but like, how do you think about qualifying opportunities? Is there some kind of methodology that you utilize, or is there some kind of strategy, or is it like you mentioned before, it's like, hey, here's who I am, and let me just take the 1-2 steps?
Qualifying opportunities in business?
Yeah, or even in women. Like, how do you qualify? Is there like do you qualify by having some questions you ask? Do you qualify by, does it align with your life? Like, what's kind of your chain of thought when you go about qualifying an idea?
Qualifying an idea.
Like, opportunities come to you all the time, right? So people are pitching you ideas.
Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
Let's do business.
Let's do business. So people are pitching you ideas. Hey, let's start this software company. Hey, let's do this podcast. Hey, let's do this. How do you go about qualifying what makes sense?
So when it comes to business, the first thing I'll think about is the equation of how much, I'm not going to say time or like just effort, time, mental energy, effort, mental effort, stress, all of that. Let's combine that and say E for effort. How much effort is this going to cost me? How much money am I almost guaranteed to make? It's not ever guaranteed, but how much money is very, very reasonable to make? And what's my upside? How much could I make if things go really well? I'll do that calculation in my head and kind of just have like a feeling, you know, you kind of have like a vibe about it. And then I'll go from there. So I'll start with that. And then the next step is, okay, if it is worth my time, the next thing I'll think about is it something I want to do? Is it something that I want to be associated with? Is it something that helps people? Is it perfectly ethical? I'll go there, and then that will be like the next filter. But yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard at this point for me, because I wouldn't want to put in a whole bunch of effort to make a few $100,000. I wouldn't want to like change up my whole life to make a few $1 million. So it's really hard to find like an opportunity, because no startup company is going to come to me and say, hey, we'll give you 25% or 20% equity in our company. You know, that's not worth it to them for maybe what I could do with my channel. Like, it's not worth it for them. So it's like, it's really hard for me to get like a good opportunity now. I feel like, I don't know, I would have to really fight for it, or like really negotiate for it.
You feel like you're in a weird position where you have influence and ability, but maybe not the right caliber for the other things you have going on in your life, right? There's not some new opportunity now that's coming in that you're like, okay, let me divert more attention here without it distracting from things I have already going on.
Yeah, I mean, bro, like I have a good thing going.
Yeah.
You know, like it's going to take a lot for me to like get out of this like system I have built for myself. Like, net worth is growing, making tons of money. The effort, like, I'm not sacrificing my life. I'm not in the office 12 hours a day. I'm not grinding. I'm getting 8 hours of sleep every night. Like,
and just doing the few things that compound.
Yeah, it's
just making the few right decisions.
It's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
To break that, it's going to take like a lot of money.
Well, because your boat is already going fast.
Yeah.
So you don't need to make a lot of moves. Yeah. In fact, the less moves you make, the better, because it's already going in the right direction.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know. That's how I would filter opportunities, but most of them don't even see like the light of day.
Yeah.
Like the emails I get, or like
you don't look at them. You don't have anyone kind of.
I read them and I'm like, hey, thanks, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So what do you, beyond real estate and kind of making videos, how do you spend your other time? Is there like hobbies? What do you do? Do you ever feel like in a rut in maybe your personal life, or do you feel like, how do you blend your personal life and your business life? Do you see them together, or do you see them separate?
Well, ever since I got serious with my girlfriend, they've started to separate. It used to be one big thing, but now it's kind of separate. So yeah, I do see them separately now, and I do treat them separately. I try to compartmentalize kind of both of them. How do I spend my time? Like researching and learning, probably like on average 2 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day, learning and trying to become smarter or better. Spending 2 to 4 hours a day with my girlfriend, and sleeping 8 hours. So, and then the rest just doing like work.
And making a couple good decisions, right? Making one YouTube video, one big event, one software company that has an opportunity, right?
Yeah, just kind of like working and communicating with those things, and just low risk, probably definitely going to work ideas.
Yeah. When did you have the idea of going after the kind of the freemium course model? Is it because you felt like people wouldn't want to buy a $500 to $1,000 course anymore? You had to figure out a new way, or did you see other people, being successful with the affiliate offer? What kind of prompted that idea? Because I think it was in your benefit when the publicity happened with every kid should have a Lambo.
Yeah.
And now they had no way of, they're like, oh, he's probably selling a course, but you're like, hey, the course is free. So I saw that was one of the big things where you're like, hey, you got nothing on me.
Yeah.
So is that a reason why you went to that route, where it's like, hey, I don't want someone to have anything on me?
Yeah, that is one of them. So obviously there's a stigma around courses, which some people argue is justified, some people argue is unjustified. The truth is that courses are very, very helpful and very worth the money, but also a lot of people make courses about like rewashed information or things that they don't actually know about, and they like technically like scam people or like sell courses and like are kind of shady with refunds or whatever. So that's why it's like it has that notoriety, like that, like, oh, you sell courses, like, oh, you make money from courses, because a lot of people make money, most of their money, from courses, like in the online space. So I didn't want to associate with that. So I thought that, yes, if the course is free, you can't say that I sell courses because it's free. And so there's that advantage. There's another advantage where I'm giving more people access to good information, because in the course, most of the content is taught by Seb and Tim, who are currently still dropshipping. I'm not dropshipping right now. I haven't dropshipped since that video, but before then, even like a year or two. So like I'm definitely rusty. Like dropshipping is very, like it changes very rapidly. So they're in it right now, and they're teaching most of the content. There's even a case study in there where they show exactly how to take a store to like 100K, and they show you it's very profitable. So you get all of that for free, and it's very good information. You don't have to pay anything for it. So yeah, there's the benefit of the way it looks, and like the leverage I gain by saying it's literally free. Like I don't sell anything. Also, it's great information, and I'm helping more people. I'm giving more people access to it, which is another benefit. And then the third thing is like, well, nothing is ever free, right? So how are you making money? Well, luckily, we got great affiliate deals, and it's not with companies that are shady. It's not with companies that you don't need. It's with companies that you do need. So it's perfect. It's perfect in every way. And it's a win. It's a win for me. It's a win for the people that go through the course, and it's a win for everyone. Everyone's happy. So it's great. It's fantastic. The reason I came up with this idea, I mean, I don't want to say or make anyone think that I'm like a genius, or I came up with this idea. Sebastian reached out to me when I got this affiliate deal, and I saw the power of the affiliate deal, and he said, hey, you don't sell anything on your channel. You get tons of views, whatever, your people, you have a very engaged audience. If you sold something, you can make tons of money. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to sell anything. Like, I don't want to look like that guy. I just want to like kind of help people and do my thing. And he's like, well, you should sell something. And we did some math and we did some thinking. We put together a lower ticket offer, $200. You know, we'd co-teach it. And I thought about it. I was like, okay, we put together this offer. We sell for $200. How are we going to sell it? You know, are we just going to make videos about it? Are we going to do webinars? You know, what's our approach here? And I thought about, okay, realistically, how many people are going to buy it? And then I thought about, okay, say this many people buy it. How many of those people are going to use the affiliate link? Mm-hmm. Because if we charge $200 for a course, which is a low ticket course, and Shopify's paying $200, it's like, you know, like how many people are going to get to that affiliate link and actually start a store? Yeah. And maybe you'd argue if the course was paid, you'd have a higher conversion rate from people that buy the course to people that use Shopify. Yeah, because they paid for the course and they're more invested, sure. But how many more people would join? Yep. Even though we sacrifice the conversion rate, we have a higher volume, how many more people would join the course? And whatever that conversion rate becomes, how much more money will the affiliate pay us? So I did the math for a couple of days and I called Sebastian and I was like, I think we should make it free. And he's like, what? He's like, why? And I'm like, because bro, we have a great affiliate deal and we'll make a lot more money like this. It looks better, give access to more people, and I think we'll even make more money. Yeah. From my perspective, I'm like, who cares? Yeah. Like, why do you care?
As long as you get the life you want, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you want? Who cares how you get there? As long as you do it like ethically, of course. But like, who cares what people think, bro? So when I asked you the question, what would you do if you were invisible to the whole world? How would you treat your girlfriend? How would you treat your mom? What businesses would you do? This is my answer to that question is I would do the exact same thing that I do every single day. That's what I would do because I don't care what people think. I don't care how people see me. I don't care about proving a point. With the exception of, like I did mention earlier, the one thing is like there is a little bit of ego in me that wants to start a business like you did with Lux and like my friend Ishan did with his company. Yep. And you know, there's a little bit of part of me that wants to do that, but that's something that I can control and I can kind of like battle with. But yeah, it's like, I wouldn't do much differently. I already do. And I live like, I'm already in tune with who I believe I am. And I try to be aware and to not do things for other people, for them to view me in a certain way. So, yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't consume information from creators and other people. So you're not, yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like I like knowing what things are going on. I consume for the aspect of studying and kind of knowing everyone's, you know, I like that aspect. But what comes from that is then sometimes you lose, well, what's the raw George? Who really is George without anyone else? And I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, they're consuming so much that they don't know who they are.
They don't even have an identity.
They don't have an identity. Their identity is intermixed with all the content.
A million pieces of information that they've collected.
And I feel sometimes the same way.
I think that's true for every person. Everyone is partially themselves because of, you know, influence from other people. Yeah, for sure. Like you're definitely a result of your environment. No questions about it. But yeah, what is the percent? How much of your identity comes from what you actually believe in for these reasons versus things that you're just maybe doing for a reason that you don't necessarily align with. You know what's interesting?
How do you separate the two? I mean, how do you know which ones you
go inward?
Okay. What does go inward mean? Produce things from within. Don't look to copy someone, but
it means sitting with yourself and just thinking about yourself and talking to your ego. That thing that speaks in your head and tells you what to do and guides your behavior, which is 90%. That thing is controlling you. So talk to that thing that is inside your head. What is your relationship with your ego? You know, like, do you even know that it exists? Most people don't. Right? Most people are like we call them NPCs, but they're like conformists, right? They're just like, I believe in God because that's the way I grew up, and that's just what I believe. Or I'm Islamic and I believe in Allah because Allah is the only thing. That's it. That's where it stops, because he's the God. That's it. There's nothing past that. And I think the way you get past that is, and that doesn't mean you have to get past religion, because I believe I've gotten past that, but I'm still religious, is just talking to that ego and thinking about like what is up there and what is thinking and why you have all the ideas you have. And then you start to go deeper. Why do I have these ideas? Where does this come from? Why do I have a motivation to prove I'm intelligent to myself? Is because I feel like I'm not intelligent and I'm trying to desperately prove that I am. I struggle with that. Right? I've definitely struggled with that, and I still do to some degree. But building up that relationship and with that ego, that voice inside your head, I think that's a better way to get to know yourself, for sure. That's what I would say. I think so.
I mean, I would agree with that. It's sometimes hard to separate where those ideas come from, right? Like, okay, you're talking yourself, but everything that you're talking about, you kind of have to distill beyond all the recent content you've consumed or recent influences you've consumed or things to kind of get at the heart of, okay, what do I really want? Yeah.
It's hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Most people don't do it, but it's very hard to figure out. Yeah. I've said this before. I've said people are a collection of the last week of information they've consumed.
Yeah.
That's what they are. You like go and have a conversation with someone in a hot tub. Whatever they bring up is something that it's some sort of information that they've interfaced with or interacted with or gained in the last week.
Yeah.
You don't go 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead. It's literally the last 7 days.
Yeah, that's true.
90% of your language and your conversation.
What are your conversations like? What do you talk about? Do you talk about philosophy? What do you talk about?
I don't know.
Even you talk about the last two.
I don't know.
Or do you just?
I don't talk, honestly, bro. I don't have conversations like this a lot. I don't.
Yeah.
Only times I have these sorts of conversations is like podcasts or that's pretty much it. Like with my girlfriend here and there, but I don't. Honestly, when I'm with my girl and I have like a different Sebastian when I'm with her, more like the off guard, vulnerable Sebastian.
Yeah.
And then you have like the Sebastian with all the friends or with like all the people that like how we are. Like I have my guard. I'm like more composed.
Yeah.
When I'm having fun, we're just making jokes. We're just laughing the whole time. That's it. We don't have deep conversations.
Yeah.
So I don't know, bro. I don't have any philosophical friends. If I did, I'd probably be better at whatever I was thinking. Like they would probably roast me and be like, "You're dumb."
Yeah.
I'd probably have a much better way to say everything I'm saying, but I don't.
No, I mean, honestly, just from listening to everything you said, the moves you've taken are 100% correct. I mean, all the moves that you're speaking about, they're just the right moves for what you want to accomplish. And I think most of the time for the right way to approach problems, right? And whether you've discovered those ideas, those right answers, through all these different convoluted methods, or just said, hey, I've sat with myself. This is what I know I want to accomplish. I'm willing to, however long it takes, after I had 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to hit 1 million. It's just a matter of time. All I have to do is just make some content, produce great work, and get better at it. Same thing in real estate. All I have to do is just pick a good property.
You start with the flip, and then you do a bigger flip, and you buy land and build a house, and then you build a bigger house, and then a bigger house.
And don't think about 30 moves ahead like I am.
A sixplex, and then a quad, or a 10 townhomes.
And they compound.
Yeah. And then from there you go to a small commercial building, and then a bigger commercial building. I'm 65 with the skyscraper.
Yeah.
I don't know. Eventually it'll happen.
Yeah. So I love that mentality. I think that's the right mentality. That's what I'm going to take away from. That's what I'm going to take away from this podcast, because I've had the opposite, and I've noticed that while there have been highs, there have been lows. So it's much more of a roller coaster because of the amount of risk I take. Like I'm more of like, okay, after Amazon, I'm going to go to Etsy. Oh, I'm done with Etsy. Go to Shopify. I did 2 million job. Fuck drop shipping. Go to a bigger brand. Fuck the bigger brand. Go to a bigger brand. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, go to a bigger company.
Yeah.
And putting all into myself, even when there is no edge, even when there is no way of compounding, it's almost like I'm not compounding. I am just taking on a new opportunity from zero. So I'm starting from scratch with something I have no edge in.
Yeah.
Whereas hey, every video I make, it's not one video. Mm-hmm. No, that video has the weight and momentum of the 200 videos I made before. Mm-hmm. Every real estate deal I do going forward is the weight of the equity and the knowledge I've gained from the prior ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, exactly. I was doing that, but not by my own design. Just kind of like.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm like, how did you think about the answer to that? You're like,
I got lucky.
It was this one. This was the right one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like the teacher grading the quiz. I'm like, how'd you get these answers? And you're like, I don't know. I just take one step.
I just knew where I wanted to go.
Yeah, and I'm like,
have you read the book The Alchemist?
With Paulo Coelho. I've read it I don't remember too much.
It's about a guy's journey. He runs into a lot of people.
Walk me through.
I don't want to spoil it. I think you should just read that book.
Okay.
I think you should read the book. He basically goes on a journey.
Yeah.
He knows where he's supposed to be going, but there's a lot of unexpected turn of events and a lot of unexpected traps that he runs into, and sacrifices he has to make, and then he eventually gets to where he wants to go in a very ironic way that I'm sure you would appreciate by the fact that you were telling me how you're going to do your documentary, but you'd really appreciate the ending. So I think you should read it. It's a quick read.
I will.
It's a very easy book.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And I think it's one of the most popular books.
Alchemist? Yeah, it's very popular.
It's very popular. What advice do you have for me? Because I think a lot of people are maybe maybe more in my position than in your position, right?
You think so?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who have analysis paralysis on certain things, regardless of their skill and ability level, where they're struggling to make a decision as to like, what the hell do I do next? And they're looking. That's why they come to you. They're like, Sebastian, tell me what's the opportunity, Sebastian? Dude. They're looking to you, and you're kind of the orator of their direction.
Yeah, I think it's impossible for me to give somebody very good advice unless I know them very well, and I can see.
You have to make it general
and understand it. Yeah, so the more general I go with advice, the less of an impact it will have on individuals.
You know who's really good at doing that though?
Who?
Who do you think I'm gonna say?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe Iman? I don't know.
No, someone else.
I don't know.
Luke Belmar.
Okay.
I think he's really good, and I've known him for a long while, but we finally got to chat like 3-4 hours when we were on a boat together. And what I took away from him was like, he's very good at on the surface. If you just read the transcript, okay, it could look like he's not saying anything. He's saying very general things, but it seems to resonate with people. And even me, when I was in person with him, he gets you to say something very general in almost a parable, gets you to think about something, almost implants an idea in your head. Mm-hmm. So although he's saying something general, he's almost implanting in you and letting you question. Instead of telling you what to think, he's getting you to, I don't know, in a way, build it up from within you. I think he's really good at that.
Luke Belmar is a follower of Jesus, and that's what Jesus did in the Bible. He taught in parables.
Yes.
And
that's what I told him. I was like, you just, everything you say, you just talk in parables.
Yeah, because parables live forever.
Yeah.
And they make you sit with them and you think about it. And when you speak in parables, it's like there's a million different ways people are thinking about it, and it lives in their head for a long time. Versus just like, don't go to college or like drop out of college or whatever, So yeah, he is good at that. He has studied Jesus a lot, and he reads the Bible. He told me that when I first talked to him. He told me that too.
Yeah.
He's like, you know why Jesus was so famous and why he's so remembered, all his stories, and it's because he spoke in parables. So
that's what I told him in person. And
me.
Then you know what he said? I was like, how much have you actually? I was curious about like the details, and he, in Luke Belmar fashion, he kind of spun it and said, "I walk by faith, not by sight." So the idea was like, I'm not even reading it.
You're like, bro, just answer the question.
Yeah. Yes. So and it's like, what does that mean? And I can interpret it like, by sight means he's read, but maybe he's coming up with these answers himself through faith, through some abstract concept.
Yeah.
Do you think about like the ideas of like speaking? Do you think about like how are you going to speak to the camera? Am I going to speak in this manner? Who's my audience? How do you go about? This is curious from just even myself. Like when you're speaking now to 1 million people, how much are you taking into consideration who they are, what they want to hear versus what do you find valuable?
Yeah, it's a tug of war between being myself and saying exactly what I want to say, but also putting myself in their shoes and what I think their shoes are, and trying to explain things in a way that they would understand, trying to come up with analogies for them to be able to digest it easier. So it's kind of like, okay, I kind of want to say what I want to say, but I have to make it digestible for people that are at a beginner level to understand, or for them to get it, for it to make sense. I'm trying to like probably just do it like that. Yeah, I don't really think about it other than that. I don't think so.
Do you think about, because when I'm analyzing, because I think I'm a really big person on like studying and analyzing, you seem to very similar to kind of like Jordan Welsh, like push people forward, giving them the right insights, but you haven't built so much kind of like a cult audience like Luke Belmar or Amon has.
Yeah.
And are you aware of that? Do you think about that, or how do you want to be thought about or portrayed, or how do you want people to think about you?
Well, I don't have an interest in building a cult-like following, or building a following that's...
What does that mean to you, by the way?
Just people that swear by me. Like people that, even if I did something wrong, they would be like, they would justify it in my name. I wouldn't want that.
That's a great way to frame it.
I'm not interested in that. What I really care about is authenticity and honesty and loyalty. Those are good values, good traits. And that's something that I want to try to do. I want to try to live authentically. I want my image on the internet to be a reflection of how I actually are. And if there's a spread, if that spread is large, that makes me feel like something's wrong. And
I love that.
I want that to be the truth. So like, for example, I'll give you an example. When I filmed my video of dropshipping, I tried dropshipping in 60 days, and also the day in the life making 10,000 a day or whatever. There was in the beginning, I put the Bible, and I was like, there was a frame of like me reading the Bible in the morning. I didn't put that there to show and put out a message that people should be reading the Bible, or that I read the Bible every day, or that I'm a good Christian or whatever. I put that in there because I actually read the Bible that morning. I was reading the Bible for 15, 20 minutes. And Dylan was there and he was filming, and he's like, do you want to get a shot of this? And I'm like, yeah, get a shot of it. Like I didn't do it to like try to
portray an image.
Portray this image. Yeah. And like in that video where I was making 10K a day, it was a very, very like relaxed day. I did everything that I normally do every single day. Same with the dropshipping video that I just posted that's doing well. I did, there are some scenes, some cutscenes that are like edited with music and what is it? Like they're glamorized, right? Yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And even then, even when I did that, I realized that I did it on purpose because I wanted to make an entertaining video. It was education and slow, high speed, crazy lifestyle, education slow, just to keep it entertaining.
Yep.
And at the end, I was like, that is not my life. Like if you watch this video and you think that I'm like some crazy dropshipper that goes on jets and goes to Vegas and spends money and does all of these cool things, and like I can buy any car and do this, and like that is not my life. I told him that. I was like, I do not want you. No.
Oh, before you edit it.
At the end, at the end of the video, I was like, look, I don't want you guys to think that. I just put this in there because these are things that actually happened. We actually did take a jet to Vegas. We didn't do that for the purpose of making the video cool. Even if I wasn't filming a video, I would have been on the jet to Vegas. So it's like, I would have done it anyway, with everything in that video. And then even at the end, I was like, in case some of you guys feel bad watching my content because you look at me and you're like, I'm not him. I'm not living like him. Like I'm so behind. I'm 30 and I don't like, and he has it all. I was like, please do not think that. My life is is normal. There are some things that are abnormal, like taking a jet. I get that that's abnormal. But for the most part, it's pretty normal. And I want people to think that. I don't want people to think that I'm living a crazy life, because I'm not. And I would feel like I'm lying to them.
Yeah.
So that's authenticity.
I love that. Yeah. I've never heard that one said, which is authenticity is the spread between how you portray yourself and who you actually are. There's ways of saying it, of course, but I haven't heard that exact way. Let's say there's 1 million people. Like, you're speaking to 1 million people. How many of those people do you think are actually like super talented? Like, how much? Normally, the talented by definition is like 1%, 0.1%, right? That's by definition. So
that's only the people that actually make it there. I think that way
more people have the potential.
Yeah.
But they just didn't do it.
They don't believe that they do. They were never told that. I got lucky in discovering it. I don't think that I'm different from most people that watch me. I think that I just got really, really lucky.
Okay.
And now I believe that, and now I know that to be true, because I understand like the power, like the power of the human brain.
You don't think you were more talented? You think you just had the right answers?
I think that the stars were just aligned for me.
Honestly, just my analysis. It's like this podcast was like, I was asking you all these questions, like all this test. I'm like, this guy got 100%. It was like all the right answers. I'm like, how did you get the answers? And you're like, I don't know.
I got lucky, bro. The stars aligned. No,
but in a way, but it's hard to just say that, because like I've known you 5 years and you've taken, I think, just the right moves. You've compounded the right moves. And why do you? What about you have a brother? You have 2 brothers.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 older. Yeah, I have more than that.
Do you think they're more talented than you? They just didn't do the right stuff. How do you think about that?
Things.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think people are capable of so much more than they think that they are, and that's what I say, and that's what I say to kids when I meet them.
I agree with that statement more than ever today.
Dude,
by the way,
I'll look at them in the eyes and I'll say, I believe in you more than you believe in yourself, and I don't even know you, but I just know what can be done.
Yes.
And you don't.
Yeah.
That's why I have more conviction about your future than you do. I think I'm similar to most people, but I've been lucky enough to be like pushed out of the narrow path that all people walk on, and I've had to kind of figure it out. And then because of that,
you've compounded the right moves,
figured some stuff out, and then now I kind of know I know what path I'm going on.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think most people are. I mean, bro, everyone has a talent.
Well, now more than ever. I mean, everyone. There's this new thing going on. I don't know how much you know about it, but like, we have, whether you're a billionaire or homeless, most people have an iPhone, one of the most powerful devices, and there are people who would normally get paid $15 an hour, $10 an hour, now making 50, 100K a month, just talking and selling an affiliate program or selling a digital product, because they're connecting with an audience and they're able to essentially get organic traffic by the hundreds of thousands, millions, with no crazy redeemable talent, like an average person, because they're relatable to the masses.
Yeah, that's me.
I think you're a little bit more than that. No, there's some people where I wouldn't discount you like that. But 50, maybe 100 years ago, you had to be more talented because we didn't have good enough tools. We didn't have good enough leverage. But today, we're over-indexed on, I think we're going to be over-indexed on intelligence. It's all about orchestration. And it's all about getting the right moves and not taking on the wrong ones. Because intelligence is, these general intelligence AIs are fast approaching.
Yeah.
Making decisions much better than I am.
Yeah, intelligence is less valuable.
It's less valuable.
Yeah, it's less scarce.
It's less scarce. In fact, it's not that valuable. What is getting more valuable, and that's why I'm like, I've known this, but I've went the wrong way, which is distribution, brand, connectivity to an audience, and networking with the right people. I'll give you an example. This last week, there was Art Basel in Miami. Okay, and the places you want to be at are the ones that aren't public. The ones that you had to have known from an initial person to branch out. And if an event is public, if there's a public ticket, if there's something publicly aware, you don't want to go to those because there's no edge in the people. Mm-hmm. You only want to go to, and much in the same way in other opportunities, because what I'm seeing is you want to find an edge in something that has a lot to do with human connection and has a lot to do with creating your own brand and building inward than it has to do with, I don't know, being super intelligent or solving some crazy problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And ironically, I've valued those two more than these.
Yeah. So it's interesting how it all unfolds. Yeah.
Are you a skeptic on AI? Because you were like, oh, I know these things are, you said like, oh, I know these things are AI. But I've just seen how fast it's been.
I don't think so. I'm not a skeptic. Yeah. I think I think it'll come, and it's the big talk now. So I think it's hyped up and then it will kind of die down, but the hype will die down.
You know what's crazy? How we get so used to it. Do you realize
adapt very fast? Yeah.
It's not even crazy now that you can ask a general question. This thing can give you almost a perfect response. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, that's all.
Everyone just uses it for school. And everyone's like, yeah, ChatGPT.
Yeah. And it's only been out a year.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, GPT-4 now is fast approaching domain expertise in every field you can imagine, mm-hmm. and more level of self-awareness than almost any human I've ever met.
Yeah.
That it knows oneself's own limitations.
Yeah, that's scary. Super scary. I mean, how many people are going to be jobless?
Well, they've said that about the Industrial Revolution too, like, oh, the printing press and all this stuff. I think it's going to enable just a different type of criteria of, you know how the next generation has always said, hey, my number one job is being a content creator. Have you ever seen that? I think the number one way of providing value to people going forward is human connectivity. And I've seen a trend, I don't know if you've seen this latest trend, which is like authenticity, like Sam Sulak and Wizard Liz, which is like no editing, completely raw.
I've seen that.
And then there's also a growing amount of people who are becoming more religious. So there was this like science, and I was on that camp too. And now because we've over-indexed on that, now people are kind of shifting back and saying, let's go inward and let's have some faith, because there's just not that much value in all these other things. All this stuff is kind of, we don't have an edge there anymore.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think that it's just you start off spiritual, and then as you become more intelligent or more self-aware, you become more rational, and you forget like spirituality and religion. Yeah. And then as you transcend that, you go
back to it,
and that's how you get that meme. Although it's very like smooth, whatever. Like it's very like basic level meme on both ends of the bell curve. You have like the same ideas.
Yeah.
So I think there's truth to it.
There's 100% truth. Yeah. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I was like, people who believe in Christianity and religion are idiots. I thought it was more intelligent. I was like,
yeah.
What?
You were an expert as well.
I was an expert. I was like, why would this doesn't make any rational scientific evidence that a human, Jesus, was reborn and all these kind of things. And as I got older, I was like, oh, more spiritual, Yeah, but these things are still kind of, woo-woo. Like, yeah. And then now I'm on this curve, which is like, now I understand the value of the biggest thing that shifted my thought process was that a belief in something makes it real. Mm-hmm. I used to think like, what the hell does my belief have anything to do with something being real? Mm-hmm. Either God exists or he doesn't.
Yeah.
Irrelevant of me.
That's a rational mindset.
A belief in something makes it real. Mm-hmm. A collective, if we are all believing something and it is causing us to shift our actions, how can you argue that it's not real? It is real by definition. It's something in the network theory that's as real as, this physical thing. Mm-hmm. And I that was a weird concept.
Yeah.
That something could be real even if I couldn't grasp it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun.
For example, like my thought process was, okay, I've built all these dense connections, right? But I'm not able to, in a way, cash them in, right? So they're like untapped opportunities. And in order for me to make them work, I have to become bigger. Now, if I command search volume and attention, if I become the hub, then I can leverage all those, connections and influence I've gathered because, well, now people want to come and there's value from the well. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that? What would your advice be for me?
In what regard?
In the regard of now building inward and building George as the brand. George is the company in a way.
Oh.
You know what? Before you answer that, there's a really interesting thing. Over the last 5-6 years, as I've talked to people, before all the conversations in business were about tactics and how to like the Facebook ad and little tweaks. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, when I talk to people, not just in general events, and I overhear from other conversations.
Like I would say I'm kind of a lazy person. I would feel like I'm like whatever, maybe I consider myself lazy. It's relative.
Yeah.
When I was doing this competition last year, I did the math based on historical data of my conversion rate. And I estimated what my conversion rates should be. There was like 6 different conversion rates with this competition. And it was going well. And then the data started to be like look off. It was abnormal. And I had a suspicion in the lower end. I had a suspicion that there was a mistracking error because I was pushing so much volume that I suspected that something broke or something wasn't tracking right with the Shopify affiliate link and other affiliate links. And I reached out to the Shopify team and I wrote like a 2-line email basically saying, hey, I think something's wrong with my link. I'm not getting the conversion rate that I was getting and that I expected to get based on the incentives. It doesn't make sense. And I wrote that. That's it. And I'm like, I thought about it and I was like, when someone gets this email, they're going to just disregard it. They're going to be like, oh, he wants to make more money. He thinks he's deserving to make more money. Like, whatever, I don't care. Oh, we'll look into it. And like, that's the end of it. Mm-hmm. And I before I sent it, I stopped and I was like, is this how I want to
portray yourself? Or it
took me 2 seconds to write this email. What else? What am I going to do after this email is done?
Put more out.
Like, how much money am I maybe missing out on? Like where, like, you know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna do after this? That is more important than collecting what is rightfully mine. That is also that probably is a lot of money. And I was like, okay, so I deleted it and I rewrote it. And I wrote an email for like 40 minutes. I wrote a 40-minute email. I explained everything. I gave all the numbers. I showed them all my math. I explained why I feel like this is wrong. Based on all of these things, and it was a great email. And I sent it out, and they responded to me, and they said, yeah, we're going to look into this. Thank you for the explanation, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Then they got back to me again, and they were like, you're right. There was a mistracking. We actually owe you $300,000 extra.
Damn.
And I was like, that was a $300,000 email that I actually believe if I didn't put in that effort, that I wouldn't have gotten. It would have just completely, because in Shopify, whatever how much revenue they're paying out their affiliates, the $300K is nothing. It's like whatever. It's like a quarter. And I was like, that effort, that 45 minutes worth of effort, that was a $300,000 45 minutes that and that taught me a lesson. And I was like, I'm going from now on, even as small as sending an email, I'm going to only feel good about something when I give it everything, when I give it the most amount of effort. That's the only thing that I'm going to do.
That's your criteria.
Yeah. If I did the best I could do, whatever the result is, I'm happy. And then I found a study, this was aftermath. I found a study that children that are praised for their intelligence do worse than children that are praised for their effort, for the effort that they put in.
Yeah.
And that reaffirmed what I had learned, the lesson that I learned. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to teach my kids effort. I'm not going to say, effort. You're so intelligent. I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to say, wow, like you're so smart. I'm going to say, hey, did you do your best? Did you give it, did you try? Did you really try? That's what I'm going to praise. And when I can see that they really tried, I'm going to be like, good job. You did a good job because you really gave it your best effort. Those kids go further. So I was like,
that's a great That's a very apt story for me, because you're right. I've only been praised for my intelligence. No one's praised me. Some people have praised me for hard work, but I'm like, I don't think I've expended so much effort. In fact, in school, I had a 34 ACT. I had straight A's. I would be like, I never studied. I never gave any effort.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You want to know what's so funny, dude? I have a PSAT in my bag at my new house. I printed it out because I was going to study for the SATs and retake it. This was last year. And retake it because I wanted to prove to myself, and I didn't tell anyone about this. I wanted to prove to myself, because I got a bad score when I was in school, that
it's about effort instead of intelligence.
That I could figure it out, and I could get a perfect score. And it has nothing to do with the way I was born. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do that, but I got busy. But I will do that.
Those are I took it 3 times, so I did put effort in, but it was I like that answer, and I think that's an apt answer, and it's also one that I've noticed people who are coming out disregard, and I know I do too. For example, when people reach out over DMs, if people could put in a little bit more effort instead of being like, I like your video or something like that, and these a couple people have done this, which is, I don't know if you've probably seen this as well, but they'll, instead of saying, hey, I'll edit a short form for you, they'll already go do it, and they'll already tag you in it and show you it already. And that's how they'll provide value first. They'll figure out a way to put in more effort, and to figure out the 20 people they could just put in more effort on, instead of DMing 1,000 people, some just bullshit. Find 20 and disproportionately give them value.
Yeah.
Because not only will you have created 20 videos now, or 20 copies, or 20, whatever the thing is you want to provide value with, and build yourself up, but you'll also give something that actually provides value to people, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to guarantee you 20,000 revenue in 60 days or you don't pay. Something like that. Why don't you just give me one dude? Just go give me one dude, right? Instead of promising something like that. I like that, and I think I'm going to take that with me, which is, hey, I'm just going to produce the best video. I'm going to produce the best podcast, the best next documentary, the best future video, the best reach outs the best consultation calls. Just praise my effort, recondition my brain to praise effort,
hard work,
instead of praise intelligence, because I disproportionately praise intelligence, and the other way, I disproportionately don't value effort at all.
Yeah. Effort's the most important, bro.
It is.
Everyone that I've hired for the level of effort that they've put in, and they've shown me that they've wanted to work with me. Like, bro, I told people I wanted a new video editor. And in that tweet, I said, I literally paid $10,000 to the person that edited my last video. I paid 10 grand for one video. If you're in Pakistan and you can get paid 10,000 US dollars, that's insane.
Yeah.
But that video was hard. That was hard work, that video. And I got probably 100 DMs of people saying, I will be your video editor. So I put a Google Drive together, and I put raw content in there, raw images, and I gave them access. I said, here's my content, make me a sample. A lot of people did. A lot of people said, hey, like, I'm not really going to make you a sample. Like, I only do paid samples.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not paying you. Like, see you later.
Yeah.
Some people put in a sample, barely changed anything. They barely did anything. There was one guy that spelled my name wrong.
Yeah.
In the video. He's like, hey, my name's Sebastian Ghiorghiu. This is my story. My last name was spelled wrong. And I was like, you spelled my name wrong. Like, imagine thinking, like, editing this, and it's like, what do you think I'm gonna think? Because when I look at this video, I know, okay, if I hire this editor, I'm gonna have to, like, make 550 corrections when he gives me back the first draft of any video that I make. Even if your editing is great, like, I'm like, you are so careless. Like, spell my name right, at least. And, maybe 1% of people out of everyone that reached out, or 2% of people actually delivered me something that was really good. And I ended up, like, talking to them and going further. But most people just don't, like, they don't put in any effort. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get noticed like that. And it's like people complain and they cope and say that, oh, dropshipping saturated, SMA is saturated, this business model is saturated.
Everything works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything works. And there are so many people successfully doing every business model. Amazon FBA, trading, all these, there's so many people doing that and making money. And now the best way to do something and the best way to stand out is just to be the one that puts in the most effort. And who cares if anyone sees you or not? That's not important. What they see is not important. It's just about how hard you're doing, how hard you're working towards it, you know?
Well, there's another part. I think if you take the effort and you make it public, also there's disproportionate impact from what I've seen from Aman and other people, which is now all those videos and all that public work that you've put out serves as the reason for your success that you can always kind of chalk back. And if you don't become successful, no one's even looking at it anyway. So it's like this huge upside with almost no downside, where if you just continue to put out content, in the beginning, no one watches it, but in the future, if people do watch it, you can always use it as justification for why you are who you are. And that gives you a great foundation to leverage with.
Mm-hmm.
Like you started right away when you first made some money dropshipping, made the videos.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been like, oh, I'm not going to do anything like that until I prove to myself that I can. I kept postponing it. Oh, after I do 2 million jobs, after I do a big brain, after I do this, after. I never felt like I was in a way good enough to do it. I don't know. It kind of felt like this
you didn't
treadmill
feel qualified?
effect. Ironically, I felt more qualified. I was mad that I felt I was better than other people who were becoming more famous or gaining more influence in the way I wanted to, while simultaneously not feeling like I was personally good enough for myself to be put on the line.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it was like this. It's a bad position to be in, because on one hand you have ego that you feel like you're better, but then you don't have the balls to put yourself out there and get criticized or put in the market to see if you are actually who you say you are. Whoever's listening to this, regardless if you're more related to Seb, myself, or wherever you're currently at, whether you should reward effort or not view yourself as reward just talent wise, what do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell people who finalized this podcast?
Oh man, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Because there's only going to be a relatively small amount of people who get to this part.
Yeah, that's true.
So what should we tell them?
If you're making it here, congrats to you. You made it to the end of a YouTube video and a long one, so that's good for you. Maybe you're one of those people that put in the most effort, so that's a good sign if you're hearing this right now. I think step one is figuring out.
If they're here, they're already going to be successful.
Maybe, yeah, good chances. I think step one is figuring out exactly where you want to go in your life, and that's okay if it changes. Don't be afraid. Like, welcome the change. Don't ignore it. The longer you ignore a problem, the bigger the problem becomes. So find out where you want to go, and if you don't know where you want to go, then find out where you don't want to go, and then what's the opposite of that, and then that's where you want to go, and then just think about that and think about what you need to be doing to get to that position. So that's step one, because if you're going to go to college and be a lawyer and get a law degree, first of all, are you really interested in that? Do you really want to do that? Just think about it. Just like actually sit and think about it, and if you say yes, I do want to do that, then think about why. Why do I want to be a lawyer? What about that seems interesting to me? Out of all of the other things I could do in my life, why would I want to be a lawyer? And then when you have your answer, go even deeper than that and try to get to the root of it. And you'll learn a lot about yourself maybe, but I think that if you go to the foundation, you will find out if that's a strong or weak foundation. And if it's a weak foundation, you don't want to build upon that, because down the line, you're going to be halfway through college and you're going to be like, I don't want to be a lawyer. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want to do this. I never wanted to do this. I just thought that I wanted to do it. But now you're deep. Now you're in it. Now you have to finish it, because like you've already invested money and like everyone expects you to be a lawyer. So you finish it and then you go and get a degree, and like, okay, now it's time to start being a lawyer. and you're like, okay, I still don't want to do this. Like maybe I'm going to go find another job. So like before it ever gets to there, I think step one is figure out where you want to go, then figure out why you want that, and then start figuring out what it looks like, what you have to become, and what getting there looks like, and then go there. That's what I would say. I think it's hard to give specific advice. I don't want to give specific advice.
I want to give them some specific advice, which is if you're already here, you're part of the curve, the 1% that went to the end of this video and hopefully got a lot out of it, because I know I did. And so comment below, success is inevitable.
Okay.
And then like that comment so you'll know who has finished the rest of the video.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of a keyword, because I like that success is inevitable, because going back to the beginning of the podcast, which was you knew right away when you hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube that 1 million was inevitable if you just did the simple steps going forward. And if people have sticked around for this 2.5 hour podcast, they're part of that 1%, and success is inevitable for you.
Yeah. I'll respond a smiley face on those comments.
Perfect. All right, guys.
All right. Thank you, bro. Thank you.